Part 75. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 746. Tao Ran spent all the remaining time on using internal energy to treat internal injuries. He adjusted his breath over and over again, and practiced his internal skills and mental techniques over and over again. The medicine Shen Rong secretly took orally after getting into the car also quickly activated its effects. When he arrived at the community, the bleeding from the wound gradually stopped and the pain was relieved. As soon as they saw her coming back, the kind-hearted people were unprepared and immediately opened the door and let her go. Alas, this doesn't work at all. Tao Ran felt that she had to hurry up and give everyone a good lesson. Ideological education classes, safety and security classes, performance classes, and of course the most important, physical education classes. Even if you can't train masters, you still have to make them light and healthy. Even if you can't fight, you still have to be able to run. Even if you run, you have to run strategically. The actress basically had all the plans in mind. Facing the residents who gathered around her, she introduced Xuefei with a grateful look on her face. She told everyone Xuefei's heroic deeds of saving her from the zombie pile, and her words were filled with gratitude to Xuefei, her savior. She also informed everyone that she was awakening her powers. Xuefei and his friends needed her help now, so they would temporarily stay in the community for a few days. Xuefei was very vigilant, and he had been looking at these people attentively. But he did not sense any threat or hostility. When those old men and women saw the two unconscious brothers, they all started to panic and prepare to save people and treat their injuries. People here are a bit stupid. They believed whatever Shen Rong said. He was beaming with joy and defenseless. He was simply a fool who was simple and easy to deceive. And one by one, they all seemed to be like this. Funny. Xuefei's face gradually relaxed. Tao Ran glanced at him from the corner of his eye and knew that he had lowered his guard. This can be seen from the hand he kept on his waist this time. It should be noted that in the plot, because Shen Rong was wary of him, everyone was not so enthusiastic and even slightly hostile. Therefore, when he entered the community, he pulled out a gun and held it in his hand. But this time, he didn't have a gun in his hand, and there was a smile on his face. Without knowing Xuefei's true strength and abilities, Tao Ran didn't want to take any risks. She greeted him warmly and began to help settle Xuefei. In the plot, Shen Rong was too panicked because he deceived Xuefei. He almost didn't dare to face Xuefei several times, but this actually made Xuefei more vigilant, and maybe it was also one of the reasons why Xuefei was anxious to attract his partners. Tao Ran would not make such a mistake. She also didn't send a bad signal to any residents. Therefore, everyone in the entire community seems to be so friendly and approachable. Unlike Shen Rong, she is generous and considerate of Xuefei wholeheartedly. She took the initiative to give Xuefei her entire medicine bag. Thank you, benefactor. Her eyes were clear and her posture was very low. I've sent someone to get you some water. You can take care of your wounds later. If necessary, you can also have someone come to help you. Since you're here, just ask if you need anything. No need, Xuefei replied dryly. I only have gauze in my bag, and I've asked someone to get disinfectant for you. You can deal with it later. Your two friends are injured. It's best not to live in the building. What do you think about living in our guard's duty room? Everything there is ready-made, and there is a bathroom. The toilet can be filled manually, and it can barely be used. Use. Tao Ran led him into the guard room that was transformed from the original sales office near the gate of the community. Xuefei was naturally very satisfied. There is a single door here, clearly visible at a glance. He doesn't have to worry about anyone doing anything wrong. Even if you squint for a while at night, it shouldn't be a big problem. Then you should rest first. Grandma Cao is going to cook. She will bring it to you in a moment. Nu. There's one more thing, Taoran asked cautiously. In that bag, there are some high blood pressure and heart disease medicines. Can you give them to me? Xuefei frowned and realized that nearly half of the bag contained medicine he didn't need. Sure enough, this community is full of old, weak, sick, and disabled people. You pick it out yourself. He threw the bag back. He wasn't in the mood to deal with these things right now. He saw an old man walking his dog outside and felt even more speechless. Have you entered some kind of nursing home? It's really unfounded. Taoran smiled at him without any intention at all. Brother Xue, thank you. It's thanks to you that I can come back. I will definitely repay you for your life-saving grace. Xuefei glanced at her and saw the sincerity in the girl's eyes. I'm not feeling very well right now. When my powers awaken, I will definitely cure your two friends. This is my community, you can live in peace of mind. Ye Xuefei smiled again and let down his guard even more. He thought that Shenrong was also stupid, and after confirming her superpower, he incorporated her into his team. Brother Xue, can I make a request? You say. As you can see, we are just ordinary people here who are frightened by zombies. There are also many grandparents and children. We will not and do not dare to harm you. If you can you not take out that gun? Don't scare them. Okay, if he could, he wouldn't want to draw his gun. In this world, bullets are worth more than most human lives. Besides, I have a companion who is trapped. Your car is sturdy. Can you lend it to me? This time Xuefei did not agree immediately. He had to consider the possibility that these people would harm him again after his car was taken away. We'll talk about it after I finish eating. He still kept a trace of caution. Taoran responded and left. She was also anxious and rushed to save people. But there's no way to rush it. It's coming soon, she can see that Xuefei has relaxed his vigilance too much compared to the plot. This can be seen from the fact that when Taoran closed the door, he exposed his back. Fortunately, according to the plot, Xuefei only agreed to borrow the car after eating. They successfully rescued their companions at that time, so at least for now, the two companions trapped in the car are still safe. Taoran doesn't plan to care about Xuefei for the time being. She had to take care of her own matters first, such as her wounds. For example, find someone you trust and do something unethical. Just leave Xuefei there without anyone watching, firstly to make him completely let down his guard, and secondly because Taoran was sure that before Xuefei's companions arrived, he would not act rashly after being injured. And he would only set off his fireworks if he was sure it was worth staying here, so Taoran let him go. Xuefei was indeed tempted. After he gave himself the medicine, he went out and walked around. There was really no one around to keep an eye on him. He breathed a sigh of relief and ordered 2 more ants to bandage his friend. The advantage of Taoran not inciting tension in front of everyone became apparent. The 2 ants were chattering and fussing over each other without showing any bad intentions. Instead, they lamented and felt sorry for the 2 wounded men several times. Xuefei simply left his 2 friends with them and walked a few steps in front of the guard room. Seeing that the elderly and children were still living in the same living conditions as they were a few months ago, with only the young and middle-aged people doing the lowest level of defense, he felt more and more that the people here who had not entered purgatory were simply stupid and ridiculous. Thanks to the book Friends Tale number 22662 for the reward, thank you. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 747. Taoran treated her wounds. No wonder the pain was so severe, it turned out that there was broken glass in the flesh. This made Taoran admire Shenrong's persistence even more. Thanks to a sister in the community who had not yet graduated from nursing school, she helped her pick out the debris and gave her a few simple stitches. Tao Ran brewed another cup of double-strength instant coffee and drank it. She had to hold on, there was still a lot to do. Tao Ran changed out of his disgusting clothes that were covered in dried zombie blood. After a simple wash, they still smelled like blood. But you can't ask Shuefei to smell it. She simply poured a lot of wind oil essence on her body, using the strong smell to cover up her blood. When Tao Ran appeared again, Shuefei was already ready to eat. He said that he was afraid of disturbing the rest of his seriously ill brothers, so he ate in the pavilion outside. Realistically, Tao Ran knew that he didn't dare to eat these things casually. When the food arrived, Shuefei's eyes widened. A small pot of rice, a dish of fried vegetables, a bowl of steamed eggs, and a plate of fried bacon with chili peppers. The aroma is tangy, saliva secretes, and the stomach growls unsatisfactorily. But he didn't dare to move his chopsticks easily. He was really afraid that there would be something wrong with the food. Just when he saw Tao Ran, he called her over. Tao Ran glanced at the dishes on the table. The food is good. And the dishes are slightly different from the ones in the plot. Ahem, naturally it was her order. Fenjujing, he smelled it? Yeah. I felt really uncomfortable and my mind wasn't clear, so I applied some. Can you give me one? Of course Tao Ran directly gave the wind oil essence on his body to Shuefei. There is no shortage of this stuff in the community. Elderly people love to use this, and many homes always have it. Before the end of the world, there are more and more various insects, rats, mosquitoes and flies. Fenjujing is very effective in repelling insects, so the canteens in the community also have several large boxes in stock. And recently, this thing has become a must-have treasure when traveling. Shuefei naturally wanted to see it. And Tao Ran's attitude of offering him up without saying a word earned Shuefei a satisfied smile. There are so many dishes, let's eat together. I'm sorry, Tao Ran's face was still very ugly, I can't eat it. They heard you saved me and made this dish specially for you. They were afraid that you wouldn't be able to eat it well, so they cooked too much. I don't like to eat alone. The implication of Shuefei's words was obvious. Then, Tao Ran suddenly showed an expression of realization, and quickly twisted a piece of meat and ate it. It tastes good, spicy. But I really can't eat it. Let me see who can eat with you. There were two old men in the pavilion, and they came over as soon as they were greeted. Although there are sufficient supplies in the community, everyone does not know when the virus will be over, so they are very frugal. They only eat meat and eggs once or twice a week. The two old men were really greedy. Now one of them came up and twisted a piece of meat. It was so spicy that he smashed it into his mouth. Tao Ran smiled and asked them to eat quickly. When they did so, each of them took a bite of eggs and vegetables, and even took a sip of the water on the table. Only then did Shuefei feel completely relieved. Seeing that the two old men had swallowed their food, and Shenrong did not stop them and help greet them, these three people were very natural, and they were indeed worrying too much. Moreover, the two old men didn't leave in a hurry after eating. They sat down and started chatting. Seeing that they had no problem, Shuefei couldn't help it anymore. He was starving to death. He hadn't had hot food in so long. He hadn't eaten roasted meat for a long time. These people actually still have vegetables to eat. Unacceptable. He quickly cooked the rice, and a large piece of bacon was placed on the rice. It was spicy and salty in his mouth. He finished the bowl of rice in just 5 mouthfuls. Eat slowly. No one will compete with you, Tao Ran chuckled. Brother Shui, your car. Lend you. Thank you, Brother Shui. Brother Shui, I have another question. Say Shuefei's mouth was unclear. He simply put the rice in the egg bowl and mixed it with the sliced meat. It was so delicious. Brother Shui, where did you get injured? Why do you ask? Our people are going out soon. If we know where the danger is, we can avoid it, right? Chaoran begged. She knew so little. Instead of wasting time to go out and inquire, it would be better to get the information from Xuefei, who was fleeing all the way. Thinking that Shenrong would be his companion after awakening his superpower, Xuefei did not hide it. A team came from the east of the city and occupied the hospital. There were more than 200 of them. Each of them was very capable. Now the supplies in the entire East City are basically under their control. That day we saw something in the city and happened to run into them. Then we got into a conflict and got injured. I got separated from several other friends. I was afraid that I would be caught, so I walked towards the west of the city, and I ran into you not long after. Chaoran took a deep breath. Sure enough, my guess was good. There are at least 3 armed groups in the city. Fortunately, the community is in the west of the city, otherwise I might have faced those people long ago. They fought for supplies, which shows that the people at Chengdong Hospital are not good people either. The people in the east of the city are strong, so the first reaction of Xuefei's group must be to run west. The people in their car are like this, and the rest of his friends should be like this too. This is a medium-sized city, and a few fireworks are not enough to guide the way. Unless his group of friends are also in the west of the city, not too far away. But they all matched up, which shows that Xuefei didn't lie. Brother Xue, according to you, the people from the hospital are still expanding their territory and have already arrived in the city. Xuefei has already eaten his 3rd bowl of rice. You can say that. Anyway, they should basically have all the supplies in the east of the city. Now they are searching for items in the city. Are there any other big teams in the city now? Most of them are scattered and in groups. But they may not be able to unite and integrate. Oh. Chaoran was respectful and asked for news while serving tea. Xuefei finally had enough to eat and drink, and he hadn't felt so comfortable for a long time. He stretched again and yawned. Sure enough, people want to sleep as soon as they are full. When the breeze blows, I just want to lie down and sleep in this pavilion. Xuefei closed his eyes and was about to fall asleep, but was pushed awake by Chaoran. Brother Xue, car. Oh, Xuefei stood up and took out the car keys from his inner pocket. He didn't give the key to Chaoran directly, but got up and went to the car to open the trunk. Then a large wooden box was lifted out by him. It looks heavy. I have to take out my things first. Then he threw the key to Chaoran. Chaoran stepped forward diligently and said, "Put the box in your room." Yeah, that's what he meant. Xuefei nodded. You are injured, do you want me to help? Ken. Chaoran stepped forward. At this mention, my waist almost didn't straighten up. Darling, this box must weigh at least 200 kilograms. Chaoran became more suspicious of the contents of the box. And she also confirmed her guess about Xuefei. It didn't seem difficult for him to lift such a heavy thing out of the trunk. You know, his left arm was injured. The two of them worked together to carry the suitcase, but Xuefei didn't see Chaoran lift his chin. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 748. The two of them worked together to carry the box up the steps. 2 young brothers saw it and came over to help. The 4 of them carried the suitcase and walked through the hall, but a young lady suddenly rushed out. This is Wang Fang, the girl from the nursing school who removed the broken glass for Chaoran. Xuefei learned half an hour ago that although there is no doctor in the community, there is a nurse. Therefore, Miss Fang Fang was invited to help change the dressings for Xuefei's friends. Xuefei stared at her closely and felt relieved when he saw her skillful movements and professional techniques. Then he went outside to the pavilion to eat. At this moment, the young lady rushed out of the room with an anxious look on her face and shouted to Xuefei, "Mr. Xue, one of your friends suddenly vomited blood and may not be able to survive." Xuefei, who could have entered the house in 10 steps, was shocked when he heard this. He was walking at the front, but when he looked up, his brother on the bed had blood sprayed all over his face, and there was blood dripping onto the ground beside the bed. "Xiao He! Just hold on," Xuefei roared. Tao ran, "Oh my god." The other two said, "Oh my god. So much blood. How scary." Tao ran, who was carrying the box, moved his hands faster than Xuefei, making a gesture to move forward. The box suddenly fell to the ground, and Xuefei couldn't care less. He almost subconsciously pushed Tao Ran aside and rushed in first. He threw himself to the bedside, and a strong smell of blood hit his nostrils. "What happened?" "Nurse. I'll kill you. How do you take care of people?" The man who was unconscious just now spurted blood, so naturally he could only blame the nurse. Just as he had the idea of drawing out his gun, he suddenly realized something was wrong. He wiped Xiao He's mouth with his sleeve, and then found that it was clean as soon as he wiped it. Not only was there no blood spurting out of Xiao He's mouth, there was not even a trace of blood. There was still blood dripping on the ground. He followed the blood and looked up, and then he found a rubber blood bag under the quilt. Damn it! Fake. This time, he didn't hesitate to draw his gun. But before the gun was in his hand, he heard several clicks from behind him. That's the sound of locking. Still don't understand? Be cheated. The other party wants to harm him. I want to lock him in the house. Hateful. Not only did they want to lock him up, but they also took away his car keys and that box. That important box is also outside. Deceitful. Want to lock him up? Don't even think about it. The man turned over to the door and smashed it down with his fist. A dent suddenly appeared in the thick iron door. Tao Ran took a deep breath. I knew he had special powers. Really strong. This is probably some kind of superpower that strengthens the power. She was overjoyed. Thank you for not having a head-on confrontation with a man before. In this community, the most capable person is probably Shen Rong. But let alone Shen Rong being injured, even in good health, he might not be a match for this agile man with superpowers. Besides, the man has a gun. The reason why Tao Ran chose the guardhouse to house the men was precisely because this house was originally the financial room of the sales office. When this old community was built, cash had not been replaced by digital payments. Therefore, the security of the financial office of the sales office can be said to be the highest in the entire community. Not only are the anti-theft window bars thicker than your thumb, but even the iron doors are twice as thick. Tao Ran had no chance of killing him, so the best way was to lock him up. Therefore, from the moment they were in the car, Tao Ran felt that this house was the most suitable for this man. Like to set off fireworks? Then let's put it in this big iron cage. So when we were taking out the glass ballast just now, Miss Fang Fang was persuaded by her. When she came to change the dressing, she listened to her instructions and introduced Xuefei into the house first. According to Tao Ran's intention, he wanted Fang Fang to stab the dying little Hella with a knife and draw some real blood to make a show, but the young lady obviously couldn't get over it. So they could only kill a chicken and take the chicken blood. Why? They have eggs precisely because they raise chickens. On the day when the apocalypse came, Father Shen and the others went to the community market and brought all the chickens, ducks, and poultry animals into the community. Just now, Miss Fang Fang heard someone signaling that Xuefei was coming, so she squeezed open the blood bag and made a decent scene. Tao Ran had requirements for this scene. Xuefei has good mental strength, so the scene must be done to be real. You must reduce loopholes. You must not let Xuefei see through it at a glance. The situation must be so miserable that Xuefei can't wait to rush to the bedside. Ran also requested that the time must be set right and the news must be reported before their boxes enter the house. Compared to Shuefei, Ran actually cares more about this box. The young lady was quite panicked, but there was no need to hide her panic. The more she panicked, the more genuine it became. Therefore, there is no need to worry about Shuefei seeing any loopholes. Ran asked her to run out as soon as she reported her death and ran far away. Everything went smoothly. The young lady who ran out was so panicked that she almost fell down. When Shuefei heard that his brother was in trouble, he naturally wanted to go in and take a look. Ran was afraid that the box was more important to him than his brothers, so he put the box down first. As soon as she let go, the other two also put down the box. The box was out of balance. Shuefei's hand slipped and the box fell to the ground. It landed just 1 meter in front of the door of the back room. Human beings are born with laziness. In such an emergency, it would be too troublesome to ask everyone to help carry the box, and Shuefei didn't consciously think that the box would escape under his nose. Looking at it again, Shenrong actually beat him to the door, and he even subconsciously a desire to protect my brothers arose. Everything went as Ran wished. The box was left outside the door. Shuefei was the first to rush into the house. Of course it's the only one. Shuefei was frightened by his brothers, and his mental strength naturally declined, so it was impossible to instantly notice that the people behind him were not following. And the moment he squatted beside the bed, Ran and the other two people's movements were completed in one go. One person pulled the iron door, another person fastened the chain lock, and another person pushed open the box at his feet. When Shuefei rushed to the door was locked. His fists came one after another, and his curses continued. Then, he pointed his gun at the big iron door and shot several times with bang 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 bang. But the iron door is too thick and the effect is not good. Although it punched through the iron door and left a few holes, it didn't have much effect. He fired a few more times. I don't know if he hit the lock outside, but he was out of bullets. What made him grit his teeth even more was when he looked through the bullet holes and saw that people outside had brought a thick steel plate to seal the outer door. No matter how powerful his bullet was, it would still be difficult to penetrate 2 layers of thick steel plates. Hateful. Shuefei was extremely angry. This is the first time since the end of the world that he has suffered such a loss. Okay, these people are planning every step of the way, and they clearly have a plan from the beginning. He cursed and threatened, saying that he had dozens of brothers who would come over soon. Ran chuckled, then invite them over. Come one and I will kill one, come in a group and we will kill a group. Shuefei almost choked to death, and then he heard the sound of something being blocked layer by layer. He also heard the sound of nails being hammered. Is he locked up in this room? He punched and kicked the door again. Ran sneered, it's useless. In order to prevent zombies, we have prepared stainless steel plates, wooden boards, and iron plates. You can kick them as you like. If you kick them through, I lose. And Shuefei suddenly realized that something was wrong. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 749. Shuefei naturally did not want to be captured without hesitation. Unable to get out, he looked at the window. He threw himself at the window and used his superpower, intent on pulling open the anti-theft window railing. With his ability, there is no problem. But he had just reached the window, and it was already dark outside. Those people actually beat him to seal the window. He punched with all his strength through the iron grating of the security window, and sure enough, he just hit the iron plate again. He took out a dagger from his side and poked it several times, only to poke out a few eyes. It's too late after all. Now, the doors and windows are sealed. As Shuefei cursed angrily, he felt more and more something was wrong. It's not that he has no strength, it's that his body. His head was getting dizzy. His drowsiness became more and more serious, his hair was heavy, his eyelids were heavy, and his whole body was feeling heavy. His strength and powers seemed to be out of control. He knew in his heart that he was probably completely fooled by these stupid ordinary people. Is he afraid that he wants to confess here? But he was so frustrated. He always thought that he was the hunter, but he didn't expect that he was the prey. Tao Ran, who was outside the window, shook his numbness from the shock, looked at the fingerprints left on the thick iron plate by Shuefei's fist, and clicked his tongue again and again. God has given too many hooks to these people. The body of flesh and blood didn't lose even one bit against metal. And just now, 5 of them were holding the iron plate together. Thanks to her smartness. He was drugged. Otherwise, it would not be easy to imprison Shuefei. Tao Ran really wanted to poison him directly, but there was no poison. Surrounded by good people, where does the poison come from? Because the environment is good, there are no rats in their community, so every household does not have a drop of rat poison. She thought about it and realized that there were only 2 kinds of medicine that could be used. One is sleeping pills. 5 out of 10 grandparents suffer from insomnia. The days before the end of the world were not peaceful. Grandparents had trouble sleeping, and many people relied on sleeping pills to help them sleep. So it's a lot of medicine. Another kind is laxative medicine. There are many elderly people, so this is a common medicine. However, after the climate deteriorates, many plants cannot be grown. In the end of the world, there are no more vegetables and fruits. Many people have nutritional imbalances, and 6 out of 10 people have constipation. Therefore, although laxatives were plentiful and valuable, Tao Ran was reluctant to use them. Immediately after sending Shuefei to be resettled, Tao Ran called in the uncles who were in charge of security today and told them, Shuefei is a bad guy. He has a gun and superpowers, and his goal is to rob us supplies. We must deal with him first. I will explain to you the details later. With this sentence, all the uncles who had deep faith in Shenrong said that they would all listen to her arrangements. This matter was not publicized, and only a few of them knew about it. Everything is going smooth. The uncles split up and got a whole bottle of sleeping pills in a few minutes. Half of it was boiled in water, and the remaining half went into 3 dishes. Sleeping pills have no smell and only have a slight but not obvious bitter taste. As a precaution, Tao Ran asked Aunt Fan, who was on duty to cook today, to change the bacon that was originally intended to be steamed to stir-fried with chili pepper. A handful of chili peppers and a handful of Sichuan peppercorns will numb your tongue. This numbs the sense of taste. The bacon is pickled, which has a strong taste and high salt content. It is spicy and salty. Not only does it completely cover up the smell of the medicine, but it also tastes like rice, forcing people to eat in big mouthfuls to calm the heavy taste in their mouths. The eggs are also made salty, just to make him eat more. Your mouth will definitely be dry after such a meal, and normal people need to drink plenty of water. Sorry, there is medicine in the water too. In order to entertain his savior, Tao Ran specially made him a cup of pu'er for digestion. The tea is so strong that the bitter taste of the sleeping pills is completely covered up. I had already guessed that Shuefei was shrewd and suspected of being seriously ill and would not use chopsticks easily. So Tao Ran made Shuefei let down his guard step by step from the very beginning. Before eating, she also took the initiative to test the poison for him. He ate the meat slices not only to test the taste, but also to dispel his doubts. A piece of meat, not much medicine. She is not afraid. Besides, she drank a large cup of coffee early, didn't she? I don't want to take a nap this afternoon. The grandfathers hanging out all have trouble sleeping. It doesn't matter if they come to test the poison. They just eat a little each and then go back and take a nap. It was quite successful. The old man who was kept in the dark and had no clue was both greedy and cute, and his performance was naturally flawless. With Tao Ran as his co-star, even if Shuefei had eyes as sharp as a professional film critic, what could he have seen? Shuefei, who was on the alert, ate a whole small pot of rice and all 3 dishes except for the chili and Sichuan peppercorns. In other words, a whole bottle of sleeping pills basically went into his stomach. Tao Ran has already learned from Miss Fang Fang that the upper limit of an average adult's resistance to sleeping pills is 15, and the lethal dose is around 100. Tao Ran couldn't bear to waste so much medicine to kill him. So, right now, he has about 50 pills in his stomach. For a young lady, this is enough to bring down a cow. Stomach burning, muscle cramps, for sure. Even if his physique is strengthened, it won't be much better. The tranquilizer affects the central nervous system, acting on the respiratory center and blood vessels, so he will react quickly, shortness of breath, confusion, drowsiness, body convulsions, and even foaming at the mouth in severe cases. There is nothing to fear from this man. Soon, he will become a dead pig that is left to be slaughtered. The temporary crisis has been resolved, at least there is no need to worry about other armed groups being attracted. While Tao Ran was arranging for people to set out to rescue people, he opened the box with them. As soon as the box was opened, everyone gasped. As expected, as Tao Ran expected, it was full of weapons. In the plot, Shuefei treated the box very seriously. After settling it, he placed the box under his brother's bed, while he stayed by the bed and didn't sleep for 2 days. So Tao Ran always suspected that there were important items in the box, so he decided to seize the box. When I look at it now, I feel scared. If she hadn't locked the box and was locked in the room with Shuefei, how could she have trapped him? It's not difficult to get out of trouble with a blast of his detonator or a wild sweep of his firearm. Then my group will be offline earlier than in the plot. The residents who gathered around also thought of this and were thankful that they had seized the box first. Originally they were too embarrassed to do this, but now it seems that Shenrong's persistence is the wiser thing. Tao Ran began to think, such an important thing, so many weapons, but a big treasure to survive in this world, Shuefei will not give up, and the same must be true for his friends. So in the plot, they rushed over when he was setting off fireworks, probably because of these weapons, right? Tao Ran smiled, and she suddenly had some ideas. At this time, Fang Fang, who had been secretly staring at Shuefei through the gap, reported that Shuefei had fainted. An uncle said, without further ado, go in and tie him up. Etc. Tao Ran stopped. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 750. Did you faint so quickly? Tao Ran didn't believe it. How could a person who could stay awake for dozens of hours even after being injured fainted so easily? That's great. You don't have to worry about me if you faint. We have a gun, so we can use him as a target for some practice. Tao Ran picked up a pistol and walked to the window. Then she deliberately knocked on the iron plate. I'll practice from here. This gap is just enough to give him a few shots. The bullet was loaded, the safety was opened, and there was a clicking sound. The sight was aligned, but before the trigger was pulled, Shuefei, who had fallen to the ground with his eyes closed, rolled over and went directly under the bed. Everyone. Oh, I'm not dizzy. Pretending. Sure enough, Shenrong was right, this Shuefei was nothing at first glance. Very cunning. Just now Fang Fang said that Shenrong's abdominal injury was serious, maybe it was Shuefei who caused it. However, Shuefei's movement speed did slow down and he hit the foot of the bed. Tao Ran said coldly, don't worry. Your life is worthless, I won't waste a bullet to kill you. Shuefei was out of breath and cursed loudly and viciously. Tao Ran told everyone, don't worry about him. He has special powers and he should last longer than we thought. Now I have to go out to rescue people. When I come back, I will deal with him personally. Everyone must not open the door for him. Tao Ran was really worried and warned everyone several times. Everyone nodded. When everyone saw the box of weapons, their eyes widened unconsciously. Are firearms already in circulation outside? Too dangerous. Tao Ran, yes, it's completely chaotic outside. Everyone should be more vigilant. When I come back, we have to have a good meeting. Tao Ran dressed up specially. She was wearing men's clothing. Black tee, overalls, big-toed boots, peaked cap, sunglasses, mask, combing Shenrong's short hair behind his ears. The leather boots were a bit big, but after stuffing 6 centimeters of height increasing insoles, they were just right. Carrying a bag and carrying a baseball bat, she walked confidently and had a strong aura. Not only did she dress like a boy, her walking posture and behavior also made her look like a youthful, energetic, and sunny boy. It wasn't until she opened the door and got in the car that everyone in the community realized that this was their little wrong. Hey, how about saying that the environment forces people to grow? When Xiao Rongrong went out, her whole person was completely transformed. Tao Ran took several uncles and brothers with high martial arts values and drove 2 cars out to rescue people. She had already thought of a course of action. In the plot, this rescue was not easy. Although the person was rescued, both uncles were injured. Moreover, the rescue lasted for a long time, making Xuefei's car close to being scrapped. In Tao Ran's plan, Xuefei's car will be of great use, so this time she plans to use more brains and less force. When the car reached the street, Tao Ran got out of the car and asked them to park at the intersection in front. She climbed up a tall tree. From a high position, she could see clearly with a telescope. The trapped car was still on the road not far from the pharmacy, and zombies were still gathering around it. At a glance, the number of zombies was at least 200 to 300. Although the car glass has been reinforced, it seems to have cracked. Zombies kept stretching their hands into the car windows, and the situation was already critical. Because the car couldn't turn around, it was blocked in front of the drugstore and couldn't move. In the plot, it all relies on Xuefei's car to knock away the zombies bit by bit, which is time-consuming and laborious. Tao Ran felt that since the car couldn't turn around, then let the zombies turn around. She got down from the tree, swung the baseball bat out, and killed the zombies waiting under the tree. All the zombies in this area have been lured away, so the area is relatively clean. She said hello, and the brother named Qin Guang in the car got out of the car carrying a sack. Then the two started taking action. One is responsible for cleaning up nearby zombies, and the other is looking for abandoned cars under the roadside boulevard with the car keys still connected to the console. After that, Tao Ran was responsible for dealing with the zombies in the car, while Qin Guang got into the car, started the car, turned the steering wheel, put the reverse gear on, and the rear of the car went up the roadside steps. When the car stopped, Tao Ran got under the raised rear of the car, and then used the dagger he carried to stab the fuel tank and oil pipe. The division of labor between the two has been clear for a long time, and their cooperation is excellent, almost in one go. In 3 minutes, the two of them took care of the 2 cars. Then the 2 cars parked together. Gasoline flowed all over the floor. Then, Qin Guang took charge of guarding, while Tao Ran jumped on the roof of the car with the sack Qin Guang brought, stood on tiptoe, reached a roadside branch, hung a hemp rope on it, and tied a tight knot. Open the sack and there is a live chicken inside. Take out a live chicken and tie its feet tightly with ropes. The bait just hung upside down on the branch. The rooster flapped its wings and croaked, proving that it was a living creature. You can see it, but you can't grasp it. After that, the two of them each got into a car, counted 3, 2, 1, and turned on the music in the car at the same time and turned the sound to the maximum. Suddenly, a loud noise shook my eardrums. The two quickly got out of the car, sprinted back to the intersection at a sprint speed of 100 meters, got back into the car, and waited quietly. The effect is not bad. There was too much movement. Many zombies were attracted by the sounds here and came over one after another. In less than a minute, there were 20 or 30 zombies under the big tree next to the car. They all raised their necks and bared their teeth at the rooster in mid-air. The previously impassable road in front of the pharmacy suddenly became much easier. But it's not enough. Tao ran through a torch out, the gasoline caught fire, and the fire started. The group of zombies all made various oh, 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 and then circled around the burning car and the tree where the chickens were hanging. This time, the movement was loud enough. The fire and music attracted more zombies, and the squealing chickens made them so excited that they opened their teeth and claws. Another 5 minutes passed, and less than half of the zombies were left on the road in front of the pharmacy, still surrounding the target vehicle. This time, it was Tao Ran who took action. She still took the sack and jumped out of the car, and the other 3 people all got into Shuefei's car. The 3 of them will be responsible for the rescue operation. 1 person drives, 1 kills, and another person rescues. As for Tao Ran, she will bring another car to go fishing. After jumping out of the car, she took out a chicken from the sack and tied it directly to the back of her car. Then she drove onto the road. While driving, keep honking the horn. Seeing the zombies surrounding her companion's car just 10 meters ahead, she lowered half of the car window and shouted and waved. When the zombies turned around to look, Tao Ran turned the steering wheel and suddenly turned around and turned around. The effect was the same. Seeing the live chicken in the back of her car made the zombies just as excited. They finally gave up on the car they had been surrounding for a long time and started chasing Tao Ran's car. Tao Ran deliberately drove the car very slowly, fully acting as a bait, and slowly took them out of the road. There were fewer and fewer zombies on the road, with only 30 or 40 left, and Shuefei's car parked at the intersection was no longer welcome. The 3 of them immediately started the car, pushed the accelerator to the bottom, accelerated violently, and rushed out. There were only 30 or 40 zombies. It was easy for Shuefei's car to ram them and rescue them. Tao Ran had confidence in those 3 people and never looked back. After catching the chicken back into the sack, she stepped on the accelerator of her car. Now, she was going to do another equally important thing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 751. Tao Ran didn't drive the car far. She just made a detour and drove the car to the road on the other side of the pharmacy. The intercom rang and she was told that Qin Guang and the others had successfully completed the rescue. The 3 people were basically uninjured, only the 2 trapped companions had some minor injuries that were not intrusive. Tao Ran asked them to go back first, saying that he still had some things to do and would be home within an hour. Now, she is going to find that pretty little white girl. If nothing else, this person should still be in the drugstore. Xiaobai owes a heavy debt, and Tao Ran will never forget her. Instead of letting the tiger go home and chasing her all over the world later, it is better to get her in hand first. Then you can calculate this account bit by bit, slowly and carefully. On the path in front of the drugstore, only 2 of the dozen zombies were still wandering around. The others must have chased Xiaobai into the drugstore. The car Tao Ran drove also had reinforced bumpers, so she didn't have to work hard. She stepped on the accelerator and hit the car, knocking over the zombies wandering on both sides of the road. Then she got out of the car carrying a big bag and a baseball bat. When she looked outside the pharmacy door, she smiled. Very good. The pharmacy was full of zombies wandering aimlessly, and those lying on the ground were the same ones that Shenrong had dealt with before. Originally, Taoran was worried that Xiaobai's brothers would arrive earlier than her and take Xiaobai away first. But apparently, not. That's good. Xiaobai must still be in this drugstore. She must have awakened her superpower, and now she is hiding in her space and not daring to come out. Taoran was quite curious. She had only seen space as a thing in novels. Could it be that there were really spiritual springs, spiritual trees, and spiritual fields in it? Are there any spiritual energy stones? Can outsiders enter? I really want to see it. So, this little white girl, she has to catch it and treat it well. I wonder if I can see the outside world when I'm in space? Thinking of this, Taoran's acting skills improved. She pretended to be a passerby who came to look for medicine. She pulled down the brim of her hat, pushed up her glasses, straightened her mask, and rushed straight into the store. She was so good at playing with the baseball bat that she killed 5 zombies in less than a minute. After one of the zombies' heads was smashed by her, she grabbed a pair of medical scissors to open its skull, and rummaged around for a few times. Just now she was thinking about space and novels, and suddenly she remembered that they always said that zombies have crystal nuclei in their heads and can upgrade their abilities and so on. She suddenly became interested. But unfortunately, she didn't find it. That's pretty good. She doesn't have any superpowers, so what level should she upgrade to? With frequent exertion, Taoran felt his abdomen began to hurt again, as if blood was oozing again. This wound is very troublesome. It seems that I will have to rest for a few days after I return. Taoran didn't dare to make any big move, so he could only find a way to introduce the zombies into the lounge inside. It took her 7 or 8 minutes to get it completely done. He breathed a sigh of relief and locked the door. Taoran put his hands on his hips and relaxed. The space girl hasn't shown up yet to ask for help? With such a big movement, he couldn't be asleep, could he? Do you look down on this little brother who is dressed up in his own makeup? That Miss Bai has been here for a long time. Don't know if you are hungry? Thirsty or not? Taoran took out a bottle of energy drink from his backpack, opened it, pulled down his mask slightly, and started drinking. When he took out the ham sausage, the aroma immediately filled the room, and Taoran took several more bites. Still not coming out? Taoran opened his backpack and hung it in front of him. He began to rummage through all the cabinets in the drugstore for potentially useful medicines, including vitamins. He held the walkie-talkie in front of him. She randomly adjusted a frequency, cleared her throat, lowered her voice lower and lower, and started talking to herself on the walkie-talkie. I've arrived at the pharmacy. Fortunately, I'm smart and know the alleys here. Many roads nearby are blocked. The people from the hospital to the east have expanded their territory a lot, and many places have been blocked by them. There are not many around here. All the living people should have been disposed of. On the road ahead, I saw 2 people beaten to death by people from the hospital. Those 2 people knelt down and begged to be let go because they had supernatural powers, but they were still shot to death. Taoran was serious. Hunger and thirst couldn't attract anyone, so she could only try mental stimulation. That Xiaobai must have no longer been afraid of zombies after awakening her superpower, so she just waited peacefully in the space for her brother to rescue her. Then Taoran would kill her hope first. She had temporarily awakened her powers, and even if there was space, there probably wouldn't be anything to eat or drink inside. She didn't want to starve to death, right? It was useless for her to hide. She couldn't hide in space forever or stay in the drugstore forever. So if she wants to survive, she must leave. Taoran deliberately scared her. If there was no one on the road, no one would pass by here. When she said she saw 2 men with supernatural powers being shot dead, she must have guessed that the dead ones were her brothers. When she deliberately mentioned the East Hospital, there was a large team behind her, so she must have heard about it. Everything makes her anxious. And Taoran is going to be her only life-saving straw. Sure enough, here Taoran was still talking nonsense to the fake channel, and there was already a rustling sound coming from the warehouse behind him. When Taoran put away the communication, a soft hello sounded from behind him. Xiaobai timidly showed up. "Hello, brother, my name is Xiaobai," she said with a shy look on her face. "Brother is so awesome. Thank you so much, brother." As she bowed, she fluttered her eyelashes vigorously. "Brother saved my life. I am so grateful to you. I will definitely repay your kindness." As Taoran guessed, Xiaobai began to ask Taoran to take her away. "Why should I?" Taoran looked her up and down. "Aren't you holding me back by taking you? I will repay you." "How to repay?" "I have two brothers, and they both have special powers. As long as you send me back, my brothers can give you a lot of supplies. Who can believe this kind of world? And maybe your brother is already dead." Just when Xiaobai was worried like this, he burst into tears, which made me feel pity for him. "Then, if my brother dies, then I will follow you and repay you. Promise yourself." Xiaobai bit his lip and nodded. "But I'm not interested in women. Is there anything else practical?" Taoran originally wanted her to tell her something about space, and even wanted to see if he could follow her into space, but she said something else. "Do you want medicine?" "Well, medicine, this is something Taoran can't refuse." "So," she nodded. "I'll give you the medicine, and you take me away. Make a deal." 30 seconds later, Taoran followed Xiaobai into the warehouse inside. Xiaobai asked Taoran to help move a set of cabinets, and then he saw a large locked iron box. Xiaobai took out a key. Unexpectedly, when I opened this big box, it was filled with all kinds of medicines neatly arranged. There are so many. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 752. 10 minutes later, Xiaobai was already sitting in Taoran's car. Taoran now wants to fulfill his promise and take her away. Well, hey, who asked her to contribute such a large box of medicine? Taoran looked through the 1-meter-long box. It contained not only oral medicine, but also many injections. There are even disposable syringes. Many of the medicines had chemical names that Taoran didn't recognize. She didn't have time to read the instructions carefully, so she simply dragged them all to the car and left them for Miss Fang Fang to study after she got back. At this moment, Xiaobai had a ham sausage in his left hand, a pack of instant noodles in his right hand, and a bottle of Coke between his knees, biting the instant noodles happily. Taoran took her away and gave her food and drink, thus gaining her trust. And she naturally didn't recognize that the person next to her with hidden facial features was actually half an acquaintance of hers, and the enemy she longed to tear into pieces. "Yes, turn left ahead," Xiaobai pointed the way. Taoran promised to send her home, so she was very excited now. She had already introduced herself and told her that her name was Bai Moli and that she was the daughter of C Group in the city. She has two brothers who love her very much. She is the pearl that everyone in the Bai family holds in their hands. Taoran, since she is a pearl, how can she be surrounded by zombies alone in a drugstore? Bai Moli showed slight frustration. "The people who came out with me this time were actually two brothers who protected me," she said. "This time the brother is not related by blood. It was the marriage partner her family was looking for her. Both brothers like her, and even after the end of the world, they will always be by her side to protect her." Upon hearing this, Taoran's mouth twitched. She bet a bag of instant noodles that it must be a bloody story about Neptune's licking dog who died to protect his master. In order to survive, casualties occur every day. My brothers don't let me go out. But I feel sorry for all my brothers, so yesterday, I acted impulsively. When the eldest lady goes out, her two brothers secretly protect her. She broke into a drugstore to look for medicine and found the shopkeeper hiding in the store. Molly asked for medicine but the shopkeeper wouldn't give it to her. The two had a conflict. The two brothers came to the rescue and killed the shopkeeper directly and grabbed the shopkeeper's key. The shop owner took a breath and opened the door. There was too much movement and zombies were attracted. Molly was so frightened that she hid in the warehouse and shouted for her brothers to find reinforcements. I don't know about the rest. This sentence made Taoran unable to bear it and looked at her deeply. Speechless, really speechless. Have no idea? Isn't it too shameless? At that critical moment, she only wanted to find rescuers. Can't she hide in the warehouse with her two brothers? To put it bluntly, all she cares about is her own life and whether she can get out of trouble. How did she make that pitiful expression? How did she speak so grandly? She clearly hid in the warehouse and locked the door in fear of death while her pursuer was fighting zombies for her. In Taoran's memory, Shenrong finally broke open the warehouse door after more than 10 minutes of banging on the door. It can be seen that Molly doesn't care about the life and death of her brothers at all. Let's just say, considering her delicate body and expensive body, how could a little girl be in a drugstore by herself? So that's what happened. Vicious, ruthless, cold, and selfish, he regards the lives of his own people as nothing, let alone Shenrong and other strangers. If Taoran didn't have other plans for the time being, he would have wanted to stop the car immediately and give her a few big mouths. After silently making a mental note for her, Taoran looked away. I kept praying in the warehouse, hoping that my brothers would be blessed by good luck and save the day. I hoped that they would escape the crisis and successfully return to report the news. Since your biological brothers didn't come to pick you up, I guess your two brothers are already dead, Taoran said coldly. Hey, Molly sighed softly, and there was still the clicking sound of chewing instant noodles in her mouth. I will always remember them and live a good life on their behalf. Taoran was about to vomit. Then what? Continue talking about what you were doing in the warehouse. How smart I am. As soon as I saw the warehouse, there was something wrong. Since the shop owner is not dead, how could there be no medicine? The medicine must have been hidden by the shop owner. I have the key, and I found it as expected, but brother, you or I do not know. Molly got excited and reached out to grab it. Taoran was disgusted and avoided it directly. She snorted softly and continued, I was still looking for medicine, and suddenly a dark, fat, and rude ugly girl came. She was killing zombies and looking for medicine, and she also wanted to come into the warehouse to grab things. Do you know? Then the girl is as strong as an ox, and she is also very stubborn. She wanted to break open the warehouse door. She actually did it for more than 10 minutes at a stretch. Huh, if you have such perseverance, why not lose weight? The ugly girl who was targeted as black, fat, rude, and as strong as an ox took a deep breath and resisted the urge to beat her again. Let's get to the point. I went out just for the medicine, and I hurt my two good brothers. How could I take advantage of others? So I packed some medicine, locked the box, and then dragged a cabinet to block it. I thought to myself, given a little sweetness, people would be less reluctant to give in. That box can be saved. And for taking my medicine, you naturally owe me a favor, and you won't leave me there. I am smart, but no matter how smart I am, there is nothing I can do if I encounter those shameless people. That stupid girl, is it? She happily took away my medicine, but she had no conscience at all and was so vicious. He also snatched away the brother I finally recruited. Sure enough, if a person is ugly, his heart will not be good. If I meet her again, I will turn her into a zombie and hang her on a tree, admiring her every day and letting her reflect on it. Molly scolded her so hard that Taoran almost wanted to slap her a few more times. Let's get to the point. What happens next? After that, After that, I just hid. Where are you hiding? I clearly didn't see you when I was cleaning up the zombies. I hid in the closet. Tao ran he. I gave her a chance. Since you don't say it, then don't cry when you suffer later. Tao ran, tell me about your brother. Bai Moli was stunned. My brother, are you saying that you saw two people with supernatural powers being shot dead on the road? Where were they killed? Let's take a look first. Tao Ran was speechless again. Probably all the good things about this girl are in her skin and her name. Her brother was suspected to have been killed, but she didn't even remember it until now. In the east of the city, Tao Ran said casually. Cheng, Dong. It's a bit dangerous there, we won't go there. Miss Jasmine lowered her head and threw away the empty food packaging in her hand. I can't eat any more. Brother, take me home. Tao Ran bit his teeth covered by the mask. She really wanted to kick Jasmine out of the car. She silently thought calmly in her heart, she would be dealt with soon. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 753. Brother, what do you call me? Bai Moli smiled beautifully. The surname is Tao. Tao Ran still didn't give up any chance of meeting Mr. Bai. My name is Tao Ran. What a name. Brother Tao, you will be my savior from now on. I can do anything you ask me to do. Really? Tao Ran raised an eyebrow. Of course. Brother, go straight ahead for 1 kilometer and turn left. After 300 meters, turn right and you will reach Fuller Bank. Fuel Bank is where Bai Moli, her family, and her companions live now. Under crisis, everyone faces harsh, realistic, and dangerous choices. No one knows which path is right, it all depends on luck and ability. Some people choose to flee, facing many crises and narrow escapes from death. Some people choose to be attached, and their life and death depend entirely on the will of others. Some people choose to close their homes and not go out. If you are lucky, you may be able to spend a year and a half safely. But if you are unlucky, that home becomes a prison. When you run out of food and ammunition and try to escape, you will find yourself like a boat in the sea with nowhere to go. Some people also choose to join a group. Such as Shenrong's community, such as the gangs that came to visit later. The base chosen by the group is also very important. When the apocalypse arrives, many people covet supplies from large supermarkets, and many people's first reaction is to drag their families to the supermarkets. It was okay in the early days, everyone was in peace. But soon it became a Shura field. There were no zombies, and it was comparable to a zombie world. It is convenient and safe for Shenrong and the others to stay in the community, which has huge short-term advantages. But in the long run, when daily necessities become scarce and human nature is revealed, sooner or later it will be invaded by others. In comparison, it would be wise for the group in the east of the city to occupy the hospital. First of all, the hospital has sufficient medicines and medical equipment. The hospital has its own canteen and enough food is available in the short term. Of course, the most important thing is that hospitals will be equipped with their own generators in case of power outages. For this reason, it is destined to be the best shelter. In the later stages, the advantage will become greater and greater. The Bai family and others in the bank can also understand. The bank is well secured and a few doors can ensure that zombies cannot get in. As long as supplies are sufficient, there will be no problem at all. But as time goes by, shortcomings will be exposed. Tao Ran had already found out clearly along the way that after the end of the world came, the Bai family and the 5 big families they were friends with gathered together to form a coalition. Relying on the large number of people and capable bodyguards, they occupied the bank and moved directly in. Originally there were more than 100 people living there, but recently some people who went out to look for supplies never returned, so now there are less than 100 people. When Bai Moli spoke, Her words were full of pride. Because there are only 7 people in their group who have awakened their powers, but there are only 2 in their family. Their brothers' powers are strength and speed respectively. Tao Ran glanced at her. How could she not be proud? To be precise, the Bai family had 3 superpowers. So does she, Bai Jasmine. There are 3 talented people in the family, but they don't have any useless superpowers. One of them is still a powerful person, so how can he keep his tail high in the sky? When those people in the plot attacked the community, more than 40 people died. From this point of view, Bai Moli should not be lying or exaggerating. I really envy you, Tao Ran said against his will. Brother doesn't have any powers. No. Brother Tao, don't be envious. I think your brother is very capable. If you are willing, you can join us. I'm here to help Brother Tao introduce Brother Song. He is our leader. The leader of your team is not named Bai. Of course Tao Ran knew Song Tao. She asked because she wanted to find out who Song Tao was. You can't say this in front of Brother Song. Brother Song got weapons for our team, and he has the most people around him. He must be the leader of our team. He also has superpowers. Tao Ran noticed that Bai Moli was fascinated when she mentioned Song Tao's powers. What kind of power? It's stronger than our abilities anyway. Bai Moli curled her lips. Then, she changed the subject. And he is very loyal, and everyone admires him. Of course, he is also very good to me. He lived in my house for a while when he was a child, and I took care of him. Bai Moli had a smile on her face. Although he is married, his wife just died last month, leaving behind a 3-year-old child. Tao Ran was speechless again. She heard how happy Bai Moli was after someone else's wife died. Of course, what Tao Ran was more curious about was Song Tao's superpower. What is it that can convince a large group of superpowers? Bai Moli, I have a feeling that he should have that kind of interest in me. By the way, I might as well tell you that I came out to look for medicine this time just for him. He will be very moved when he knows it, and he will definitely come to save me. She couldn't help laughing, so maybe, I will be Mrs. Song soon. Tao Ran glanced at her. This little white girl was really good at raising fish. With her ability, I'm afraid she can raise a harem. Unfortunately, she fell into her own hands. Who asked her to commit herself to herself first? Since she was Tao Ran, these imaginations were destined to become nothing more than sweet dreams. Isn't it convenient to live in a bank? Tao Ran said suddenly. Yes. There are too many people and too few rooms. It is not convenient to cook. As time goes by, the drainage is not good and it smells bad. We are looking for a new place to move to recently, and we haven't decided where to go yet. Tao Ran he, so it's no wonder that after they entered the community, they made up their minds to occupy the community in just a few minutes. A cold building is not as good as a clean and safe community. Slow down, it's almost there. Bai Jasmine jumped for joy. Tao Ran followed her instructions and slowed down the car, and at the same time began to look at the surrounding environment. All the zombies in this area were led to the nearby road, so cars could drive smoothly. Just turn right ahead and you'll be there. Bai Moli lay on the right side of the window. Look, that's my cousin. She was extremely happy and pointed at the man patrolling the intersection on the right in front of her. The man was also looking over. The speed of the car slows down. Bai Moli was so happy that she was about to open the door. The next second, her vision went dark, and then she fell down and hit her head heavily on the car glass. Tao Ran, when she was at her happiest, struck her with a knife and knocked her unconscious. Or in front of that cousin. Ha, I must be stupid. How could I let Bai Moli go home? You went to find Bai Moli just to capture her alive, right? He gave her food and drink and promised to take her home just to gain her trust and get information. The purpose of sending her here was to see where their lair was and how the security was. The reason why I knocked her out was because she had space. As long as she senses something is wrong, she can hide in the space. How can she find her then? So Taoran had to take her by surprise if he wanted to capture her alive. And the reason why they did this in front of their cousin was naturally to let him know that their group pet Jasmine had been kidnapped. Sure enough, shouting and the sound of a car starting soon came from behind. Taoran stepped on the accelerator, turned a corner, and headed east. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 754. Taoran originally thought of guarding the drugstore with a gun, waiting for Baimoli's reinforcements to arrive, and carrying out an assassination attempt. But in the process of cleaning up the zombies, the wounds were too painful to open. She couldn't guess how many people would come, and she wasn't sure they could get rid of Baimoli's brother with special powers, so she could only change her mind temporarily. It may not be a bad idea to find the opponent's home base first. So she agreed to Baimoli's request. And the reason why the white Jasmine is left unkilled is that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. She is a cute young lady with no strength at all. As long as she is controlled, her powers will be useless. Taoran plans to study her carefully. Of course, after hearing that Baimoli was extremely lovable and the favorite of their team, they naturally had to keep her. With such great value, it would be a pity to kill him. Those brothers really loved the little princess. Listening to the noise, at least 5 or 6 cars were chasing her, shouting through loudspeakers and using threats and inducements. Because they were far away, Taoran wasn't worried at all that they would catch up to him. She was even less worried that they would use clues to identify the owner and residents of the car. Because the license plate had been removed by her a long time ago, the car she was driving now was ordinary and there were at least 1,000 of them in the city. Indeed. After she casually walked around the street twice, the movement around her gradually disappeared. Taoran chuckled. She was heading east just now. Just think of her as a source of trouble. If you have the ability, go and settle accounts with people in the east. As long as they dare. Her next step will have to wait until her injury heals. After taking a detour and turning back, Taoran couldn't help but sigh. After driving for so long, she encountered no more than 10 cars in total, and even fewer pedestrians. When she returned to the neighborhood, she didn't rush in. Instead, she walked around twice more to take a look at the situation. When she entered the community, it was already 5 minutes past the time she promised to arrive home. Everyone was already impatient and were discussing whether to go to pick her up. For such a kind neighbor, Taoran suddenly understood Shenrong's protectiveness and guilt. After unloading the big boxes in the car and sending them to Fang Fang, Taoran drove the car directly into the underground garage and took away the keys. In this way, there is no need to worry about someone accidentally driving away the car. She took it upon herself to find a tiny garage. Less than 5 square meters, there was only one security door and no windows. Then, she threw Baimoli in and locked the door. It's just such a small place, it's useless even if there is space, the monks can't escape and they can't escape the temple. Taoran ignored Baimoli or treated the wound, and went directly to see Shuefei. Shuefei fell to the ground like a dead pig. He curled up in a ball, unconscious. After taking away the iron plate and opening the door, Taoran asked Qin Guang and another brother named Yan Hui to point their guns at Shuefei. She herself raised the baseball bat again, and the 3 of them lined up and approached Shuefei cautiously. Fortunately, Shuefei is really dying. Taoran shot him in the temple with an empty gun, but he didn't react at all. After that it's easy. Taoran had already had thick chains prepared. 10 minutes later, Shwefei was tied to a pillar in the underground garage with layers of thick chains and locked with 2 locks. In addition, in order to prevent other troubles, Chaoran broke his leg. Unless he grows wings, there is no chance of escape. Of course, before tying up Shwefei, she also had him stripped down to just a pair of shorts. In addition to the dagger and unloaded gun, she also seized several fireworks on him. Returning to the security room where Shwefei was locked up before, Chaoran got back the package of precious medicine. She searched the 2 seriously injured Shwefei friends again, and found another gun without bullets. "What should we do with these 2 people?" asked an uncle. "Find a place to lock him up first. If nothing else happens, one of them will die tonight. Both of them, I'll still have use for them later." Afterwards, Chaoran counted the box of weapons. 10 guns, 50 detonators, and 200 rounds of ammunition. All are integers, and they are sealed. Interesting. In addition to the 2 guns seized from Shwefei and the others, they now have 12 guns in hand, which can be said to be a great increase in strength. In addition, there are 3 pieces of body armor in the box. Very nice. Afterwards, Chaoran announced that the meeting would begin. Although she is not a community leader, everyone trusts her. So within 15 minutes, everyone was basically there. Chaoran showed the captured weapons to everyone, and then spoke. "Weapons have been circulated in the city, and blood has flowed into rivers in many places. Zombies may not be more vicious than the people outside." To this end, she made up several stories, all about how human demons killed innocent people indiscriminately, destroyed humanity, and seized materials for their own selfish desires. The protagonists of the story are all defenseless children, girls, or elderly and frail grandparents. They successfully made everyone feel frightened and put away their compassion, and each one cursed and hated them. She also showed her injuries. That Shwefei is coveting our supplies and is ready to take the lead in grabbing supplies and turf. If we hadn't struck first, his gun would have been aimed at us. Everyone knows that guns are controlled, and they can if you get it. You must not be a kind person, right? The woman I brought back was even more of a demon from an organization in the city. I watched helplessly as they killed drugstore owners for drugs. They are all demons who kill without showing blood and have many lives on their hands. It is very likely that many of our relatives, friends, and neighbors who did not come back after going out died at the hands of these people. Therefore, starting from today, we must guard against not only zombies, but also many inhumane humans. We have only one goal: to survive. In addition, I want to tell you that it has been almost 2 months since the virus broke out on a large scale. At this time, anyone who has the ability to wander outside is likely to be dangerous and is someone we must guard against. If they have intentions, we can't show mercy. For us to live. For our loved ones. For our home. Chaoran succeeded in making everyone believe in her and made a statement that they would listen to the arrangements. Although she is young, her level of force is the highest in the community. Although she is only a student, she thinks carefully about everything when dealing with sudden changes in the apocalypse. Although she may not necessarily be experienced in dealing with things, her tenacity and persistence are something that many people don't have. Just because of the wound on her abdomen that was once again stained with red bandages, everyone could only admire her. She has killed the most zombies outside the community. She has gone out to look for supplies the most. Today she successfully rescued her friends. She successfully brought back a large box and a large package of medicines. She successfully brought back a large box of medicines. Arms. She also solved 2 time bombs that might endanger everyone. None of us should remember these achievements. So when she expressed that she had some ideas, everyone calmed down and said that as long as she arranged it, they would do it. The epidemic is serious. I finished coding this chapter and now I have to go out to do nucleic acid tests. Everyone, please protect yourself and stay safe. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 755. Tao Ran first counted the number of people. The entire community, not counting Father Shen and the others, has a total of 173 people. Among them, there are 52 elderly people over the age of 60. Children under 10 are 17. There are 10 people between 10 and 15 years old. This group of people, whose overall combat effectiveness is weak and who need protection, has reached a total of 79, accounting for more than 40% of the total number of people. Among the less than 100 people left, nearly half were women. It's not that there is discrimination between men and women, but it's true that most women's fighting ability is just like that. If 10 of them were to surround and kill a zombie, they might not be able to win. Under the current situation, although they are young adults, they still need protection. Therefore, the main force of the current inspection team and material team are some uncles and brothers, about 30 people. The proportion is less than 20%. Indeed, this burden is too big, so staying in the community is almost the best option. And since Shenrong still had to wait for his father to bring his grandparents back, it was even more inconvenient to leave. But if we want to stay, the status quo will definitely not work. Tao Ran looked at this troublesome data and felt that everyone was still well protected. Although it seems that they have made preparations, in fact most people just want to survive. The end of the world is coming, and this is not enough. We can't survive and keep our homeland if we just hang on. The whole world has changed, and we have to change too. We have to be wary of danger when living in peace, but now that the crisis is coming, we don't want to change the world, at least we have to live. Come on, don't let the world change, spoil and pollute us. Right? Natural selection, we cannot be chosen. We can at least try to seize the option. Again, I think that for ourselves, for our relatives and friends, and for our homeland, we should work hard and strive to be the one who laughs last. Tao Ran Bala Bala, a good analysis of the pros and cons and encouragement made everyone's loose nerves more tense. Especially after hearing the story about people from Chengdong Hospital expanding their territory, shooting civilians with direct weapons, and expanding their sphere of influence to the city. Everyone agreed. They even included a few old men. This is their home. No one is allowed to rob it. The old men actually sang a song, "We grew up here, and every inch of the land is our own. No matter who wants to take it, we will fight him to the end. No one wants to become a waste. Even if the end does come, they at least tried hard and at least died vigorously. Only in this way can you not regret when you die, and be worthy of your previous companions who worked hard for everyone but failed to come back." For a moment, everyone's enthusiasm was ignited, and they clenched their fists to express that they didn't want to be chosen like this. They will definitely try their best. The group headed by Qin Guang directly proposed that Shenrong, who had made the greatest contribution and knew the most about the outside world, be temporarily their captain and be responsible for the general affairs of the community. No one objected. Tao Ran was not polite and expressed his attitude, "I will lead everyone to guard the door. Let's fight for everyone." Tao Ran decided to set up a plan tonight, starting tomorrow, to get everyone involved, even if they only do what they can. While the iron is hot, she first made some requests to everyone. She showed the floor plan of the complex. This community is composed of 3 11-story buildings and 6 5-story buildings. The community originally had 4 gates, southeast, southeast, and northwest. After the end of the world, they closed the east and west gates, leaving only the north and south gates. Under the current situation, if there are any living activities, we must rely on cars. In order not to be blocked by zombies, cars will definitely choose to take the main road. The gates on the north and south of our community are close to the main road, which actually makes it easy for us to be exposed. So I suggest that we take the east gate from now on. Although the road to the east is not wide, it is close to a construction site. After the virus broke out, all the people had disappeared and there were not many zombies. Originally, our goal was just to guard against zombies. Now that we have to guard against people, we cannot relax at our 4 gates. From now on, we must keep people's attention on all 4 gates. Before we go out in the future, we must first make sure there are no vehicles around. Taoran also drew a circle around the landscape lake and garden area in the middle of the community on the floor plan. We need to lower the decibel level of all activities. Don't make noise, don't attract attention, and don't let people outside know that people in this community are living well. So from now on, our activities can be concentrated in this central area. If necessary, we can move more activity areas to the underground parking lot. The place is large and open, and the sound will not be transmitted outside, and we are not afraid of being discovered. In the future, our cars will try not to honk their horns. From today on, we cannot let any strangers into the community. Starting tomorrow, we will no longer clean up the zombies in front of the community. We will just let them wander and let the zombies become our cover. If necessary, Taoran would even consider raising a group of zombies in the community. This thing is harmful if you encounter it, but if you use it well, isn't it just worth the force? Or we can lure a group of zombies to the outskirts of the community. Even if someone passes by, they will most likely stay away from our area. Then we don't have to do anything and we will be safe. Although we have obtained a batch of weapons, we will not use them for the time being. The weapons are currently in the hands of several groups of forces in the city. We will take them out when necessary. The same applies to cooking. The problem of oil fume must be solved. The community cooks a big pot of rice, and every time it is served, the smell is so delicious. It's especially obvious in this sour, apocalyptic air. If it doesn't work, I'll cook in the underground garage from now on. When the oil smoke slowly disperses, the problem will be solved. All our personnel will be refined. Starting tomorrow, each of us will have his or her own tasks. Including grandparents and children, we are not playing games or working, but protecting our families. If possible, I hope everyone can live as densely as possible and not on floors that are too high. This is not only for convenience in daily life, but also to cope with emergencies. Most of the nearly 300 households left around the time of the end of the world, and many people have died, so most of the buildings are vacant. Everyone knows that the people in the empty rooms will almost never come back. As for supplies, whether they are medicines or food, I personally recommend not to pile them in a fixed place, but to divide them into several parts and keep them in the car for later use. It is convenient for inventory and easy transfer if necessary. Another very important thing is that I think we have to prepare a retreat. If something happens, we have to have a necessary retreat. To ensure everyone's safety to the greatest extent. This is also a top priority. In the plot, everyone is caught off guard when something unexpected happens. Nowhere to go, kicked out of home, only dead end. This time, we can't make the same mistake again. They had to get ready early.